do you not think that Zionism pushes that?
Zionism does, and we can try to say that like it's just because we're oh God, sorry, I'm not gonna get triggered.
There it is. No, you're fine. You're fine, bro.
We can try to say that like it's because of some weird Jewish blah blah blah. But the reality is, the United States wants an ally in the Middle East. Israel is our best ally that we have in the Middle East. Just like Turkey is a strong ally in the Middle East.
Because we give them money. That's why.
The idea that we need like a Jewish conspiracy or some Jewish plan to explain that, we don't need one. Just like we don't need a Turkish conspiracy.
Wait.
Just like we don't need a Turkish conspiracy to explain why we're so close to Turkey in the Middle East, despite all the political disagreements that we have with them.
I wanna really laser focus in on this. So Stephen,
did you finish your point before he starts?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Stephen, I want to hear what your opinion is on Israel. So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that Israel is America's closest ally because Israel benefits America the most. Is that right?
I'm saying that Israel is a close ally to the United States because there's a benefit for them being an ally in the Middle East. Yes.
What is the benefit?
The benefit is geopolitical. The benefit is that we've got a strong ally in that region of the world. Okay. It helps us deploy military assets. It helps us have bases in these areas. And, yeah, sure.
How many bases do we have in Israel?
I don't know how many bases we have.
Okay, really? What do we deploy from Israel?
I don't even know in terms of economy. Nothing. There's absolutely no economic, no beneficial interest whatsoever for Israel being there in the United States.
No Israelis died in the Iraq War. Everything in the big controversy actually for the Muslim world is that Saudi Arabia allowed us to station there and use their airspace, which is like a total.
We're friends with Saudi Arabia too, are we not?
I know. But
is that
we're not arguing about Saudi Arabia.
Wait, why are we friends with Saudi Arabia if the Saudi Arabians and the Jewish people don't get along?
That's the point.
If they don't always get along, why are we friends with Saudi Arabia then too?
Hang on. We could talk about Saudi Arabia in a second. I want to talk about Israel. So you said that we're allied with Israel because they provide us a benefit. I said, what's a benefit? You said, well, it's a geostrategic. I said, what does that mean? You said, well, we deploy stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I just said, well, no, actually, they don't do any of that. So I want to stick to the same question. What does Israel do for us specifically?
Specifically, I wouldn't be able to tell what Iraq does for us specifically either. No, I don't know. 100%. I don't know.
Okay, well, the answer is nothing. And the answer is nothing. We give them $3.8 billion per year in aid. That's in addition to all kinds of other special provisions. Every other country, because you're right to some extent about the foreign aid. We give a lot of these countries foreign aid, but there's a reciprocal advantage for foreign aid. Like, for example, we give Egypt a lot of foreign aid. You want to know why we give Egypt a lot of foreign aid? They became the second largest recipient of foreign aid after the Camp David Accords in '78. They were the first nation to sign a peace treaty with Israel. It was only after that they became the #2 recipient of foreign aid. But one of the benefits that we get from the foreign aid, besides that we brokered a peace deal with Egypt, it was very controversial, very unpopular, is that Egypt buys our military equipment with the money we give them. Israel's the only country in the world that they don't have to spend all the foreign aid money they get on the American defense industry. They can spend it on their own defense industry. Only country that gets that sweetheart deal. In addition, we have a special part of the aid that we give Israel that we give it all in a lump sum at the beginning of the year, as opposed to giving it over the course of the year. We give it to them as a lump sum. And what they do with the money is they actually buy our American Treasury notes so they can make interest. Isn't that beautiful? So we give them the money and they demand this, only one, in a lump sum, and they take the $3.8 billion and they spend a little on their own defense industry. They spend a little on ours. And then they buy our Treasury notes and they make a little interest off the money we give them. The other thing is this. We give it to them as a loan, which is important. If we gave it to them as a grant, we would have to monitor how they spend it. Well, they don't need that kind of scrutiny on what they spend it on, so they accept it as a loan, but we forgive the loan. So there's no scrutiny, but we also don't collect it back. There's also no interest. These are all the kinds of special sweetheart provisions we give them, in addition to them being the #1 recipient. And there's actually no tangible benefit that we derive from them. In fact, it's the opposite. Constantly, we are catching spies, like the Jonathan Pollard affair. In the Trump administration, they got busted for putting listening devices in Washington, D.C.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have any military bases in Israel?
You tell me. You just looked it up on your phone.
I did.
See
so we do have military bases in Israel.
Okay.
I see that we have radar installations in Israel.
Tell me about
Not only that, I see we have radar installations in Israel that literally help us keep track of what's going on over the skies of Iran. Do you think that provides us a geostrategic advantage?
No, because Iran is not our adversary. Why is Iran our adversary?
Because we had a geostrategic interest in Iraq, and Iraq was for a while an adversary. And Iran is also an adversary because Iran has international. The IRGC literally does ops all over the United States.
Really? Wait. The IRGC does ops in the United States?
No, hold on. Against U.S. troops.
Where?
What do you think? In Iraq. Why do you think
are we in Iraq?
Why do you think?
Why are we in Iraq?
Why do you think Donald Trump killed Soleimani?
Why are we in Iraq?
Why do you think Donald Trump killed Soleimani? Who do you think was killing U.S.
Shel
troops?
Nadelson gave him $500 million in 2020.
Okay,
That's why.
Gotcha. It wasn't because
Yes,
there were
gotcha.
attacks all
Absolutely.
over Iraq on U.S. troops that was done
Why
by
were
the
we in Iraq?
IRGC, that was ran by Iran's IRGC.
Why were we in Iraq?
It doesn't matter why we're in Iraq. I'm telling you.
Guys. This is what we got to do.
Yeah,
Let the sneak get off his things. If you want, Nick, I can give you a piece of paper and whatever. You can write down his questions. That way you can address each one.
Yeah,
so Destiny, ask what you were saying, get into your stuff, and then Nick will respond.
Sure. Okay. So to be fair, okay, I do not know every single point of trivia that Anansi memorized about Israel. I don't have all the information. I will look it up when I can, and I read what I can, and I learn what I can, but I don't know every talking point. But I would like to say at the beginning, it kind of seemed like we're relying on the idea that Israel has no military installations for the United States in Israel. That seemed to be the point we're relying on. Well, now it seems like they do. Not only they do, but it seems like it also is one that provides geostrategic interest to the United States because of our operations in the Middle East. Now that you found that out, now you're like, oh, well, why do we care about Iran? I told you why we care about Iran. We care about Iran because the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, that was ran by Soleimani, the guy that Donald Trump assassinated because they killed so many U.S. troops in Iraq, that they have an interest in killing U.S. troops across the Middle East, and they had for a long time. And then you shifted the goalpost from, so the goalpost was, are the military bases in Israel? Okay. Do they provide geostrategic interest? Okay. Well, what's even the interest? Okay. Well, why are we in Iraq? You're going to shift the goalpost over and over and over again. You can shift as much as you want, but Israel does have U.S. military installations, and we also have weapon depots there as well. And there's a reason why we have them. It's geostrategic interest. And there is a reason why they're spying on people that are killing troops in the Middle East. So if you want to keep shifting the goalposts, we can. I don't know if we're getting to the point where, like, why were Jews persecuted in Rome fucking how many thousand years ago?
Just to clarify, what he said is, what he asked was, how many bases do we have? Didn't answer. Then he said, what benefit does America get from aiding Israel? And then he said nothing. He didn't say anything about the military bases.
Sure. Well, because the answer is to give the impression that we don't get anything from them, because you did say that. He said we get no benefit from them. We just ship a bunch of money over that.
Yeah. Did you finish your point though, Destiny? I want to make sure you get everything off before I turn it to Nick.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, go ahead, Nick.
Okay, so let me dive in here. The reason it's not shifting the goalpost, I asked you specifically, precisely, because you came on here without knowing it, actually. And I want to point that out. You come on here and say, well, it's a weird, crazy conspiracy to suggest that Zionist Jews in America conspire to help Israel. That's weird and crazy. It's not tribal. It's not religious. You said the reason that it's way more boring and way more complex the Nazis would suggest it's because they actually provide a benefit. I said, really? What's the benefit? You said, oh, I don't know. So you just claimed that without knowing anything. Then you went on imright.com. Your chat helped you out and said, well, actually, they have a military installation. Here's the reason why it matters why we're in Iraq. You told me the benefit that Israel provides to America is that they help us spy. It's because they actually provide a benefit. I said, really? What's the benefit? You said, oh, I don't know. So you just claimed that without knowing anything. Then you went on imright.com. Your chat helped you out and said, well, actually, they have a military installation. Here's the reason why it matters why we're in Iraq. You told me the benefit that Israel provides to America is that they help us spy on Iran. Well, it would actually matter then why it's actually a geostrategic necessity for us to spy on Iran. Iran is thousands and thousands of miles away from the United States, as is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. You said for a moment, you said, well, the IRGC operates internationally in America. And I said, really? And you said, oh, no, I mean, in the Middle East. And then you say, well, why are we in the Middle East? Well, that's not important at all. Actually, it is, because America has no business in Iraq. We had no business in Iraq in 1990. We had no business in Iraq in 2003. We had no business in Iraq in 2011. It matters. Of course it matters. And here's why. My contention, of course, is that we were led to Iraq by Jewish Zionists. Jewish Zionists' number one enemy is Syria. Therefore, their number two enemy was Saddam Hussein. And the reason why is because of their northern border. In the 1980s, Israel invaded Lebanon, and a group called Hezbollah pushed them out. The history goes way, 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 way back. But basically, they are mortal enemies with the al-Assad family, with Hafez and Bashar al-Assad, and with Hezbollah, with Lebanon and Syria. It's about securing their northern border. In any case.
And who did they bomb recently? Lebanon, Syria, Iran.
40 years that their number one adversary they got to take out. The road to Damascus runs through Baghdad. They have to take out Iraq to take out Syria. So my contention is that we went to war with Iraq basically for the benefit of Syria. It follows, therefore.
Wait, can you explain that?
Let me finish. It's very quick. It's very quick. It's super quick. And then you can reply. It follows then that if we're at war in Iraq because Jews pushed us into that war to benefit Israel, it's actually not a geostrategic benefit for us to be able to surveil Iran or to kill the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, because the only reason the IRGC can kill our troops in Iraq is because we're in Iraq for Israel. So that's actually just a roundabout way of saying, well, they benefit us so that we can benefit them. They benefit us so we can kill their enemies when we're fighting their enemies in Iraq for them. It does us no good. We would have no beef with Iran besides the hostage situation from 40 years ago. But other than that, we'd have no beef with Iran, Iraq, or Syria if it wasn't for our support for Israel.
Okay.
The problem is that I want to do a back and forth where I ask him a question, but if he rambles on like 40 minutes of bullshit history every time I ask him a question, it kind of
it's a book context, so
sure.
People
so
understand.
I'm curious, like when you say that the Israel is the one that dragged us into Iraq, can you elaborate that?
I can, yeah, very clearly. In 1996, they published a memo called the Clean Break Memo. Maybe you've heard of it. It's Douglas Pearl, David Feith, David Wormser. These guys all went into the Bush administration and created the Office of Special Plans in the Defense Office in the Department of Defense, which concocted this excuse for war in Iraq, this fabricated evidence about WMDs, this connection with the poisoning, and so on. And what they said, exactly, the anthrax. In the Clean Break Memo in 1996, all these, by the way, these guys are all Jewish Zionists, they all said it's about securing the realm of Israel, securing the northern border. We have to take out Saddam, we have to take out Syria, we have to take out Iran.
Why didn't we go to war with Syria or Iran then?
Oh, that's a great question. They tried to get us to war in Syria, if you remember. They fomented a Syrian civil war with ISIS, which was supported by both Israel and the United States.
Hold on. That's like 15 years later.
Yeah, because that was the plan. First Iraq, then Syria, then Iran.
Wait. So did we go to the first Gulf War and the second Gulf War because of Jews, or just the second one?
Both. Absolutely.
So
we won
the Kurds and any of that, none of that mattered?
No, that's all ridiculous.
In Kuwait, that's all bullshit.
Well, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
In 1998, all these same guys, Wolfowitz and Abrams and all of them, Cohen, they all wrote a letter to Bill Clinton in 1998 before State of the Union and said, you got to address taking out Saddam. So they were talking about taking out Saddam for like 20 years. Then 9/11 happens and they go, oh, Saddam did 9/11. Oh, Saddam has WMDs. Let's go in. Yeah, it's all excuses, Destiny.
Why didn't they just depose him after the first Gulf War then?
Are you so naive to think that like the Kurds is the reason we went in? Do you really believe that?
I more so than 4 Jewish guys drafted up a plan to get us into an arbitrary war in the Middle East.
In other words,
Israel.
It's more about bullshit humanitarian nonsense than it is about like spies, money, warfare, and like that's really the crux of it. Is you have this naive worldview, like, well, the government said they're Kurds, yeah, just like Assad was his own people, and it was fucking fake, and it was all white helmets with the UN down there,
absolutely,
and it was the rebels using chemical attacks. No, there isn't, and they should go and investigate that.
Absolutely no evidence. There isn't evidence. There's not a single international community in the fucking world that would back up the claim.
There isn't evidence.
Okay, let me ask this. Let me ask this. So are you okay? So Destiny, just so I can make sure I get your stance correct here, are you saying that we went to war with Iraq because of the Kurds?
I think that, yeah, I think in the invasion of Kuwait, I think it was a really big deal for internationally why we felt like we had to step in and intervene
with the Kurds being killed.
Yeah, and then the chemical weapons on the Kurds.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so Saddam killing the Kurds in the northern part of Iraq is okay. What's your response to that?
We don't care about any of that. I guess.
I think that's ridiculous. I think
it's way more likely that 4 Jews somehow.
Well, let me ask this, Nick. Would you?
But not enough to depose Saddam, just enough to invade and leave him.
Let me finish.
Let's connect it. Would you say, Nick? Would you say that the Kurds was a contributing factor, or you're saying it's not at all?
No, I don't think so at all. And here's why.
All right.
I think
so you don't think whatsoever it's not relevant whatsoever to the situation?
I think that is how they dress it up. I think that is basically United States foreign policy, is that we come up with pretexts and excuses to do what we want to do anyway. Like, for example, and I'm not trying to just zoom out here, but I am trying to give examples.
You don't think that mattered either, right?
What here's the big picture, Destiny, which is I think what you're missing.
Okay.
Is that we give a lot of excuses. We said there were WMDs in Iraq. That's why we went to Iraq.
Second Gulf War.
There weren't any.
You're mixing the first and second one up.
No, I'm giving additional examples.
Well, why not just focus on the first Gulf War?
And here's
instead of
because
talking
you're
around
missing.
A lot
here's
of random
why.
shit.
Because now you're interrupting, trying to derail.
Because you like to conflate a whole bunch of shit together.
No, because I'm making a point. No, because you're very naive and you think that the news media is telling you the truth about.
Well, just explain then. Why did we do the first Gulf Gulf War.
which is war.
Okay, let him give his examples,
Thank
and then
you.
can you please address the Gulf War for him?
Absolutely.
Give your
absolutely.
examples, because he's just giving examples of why the United States lies to get in certain
Because he
situations.
doesn't have the answer to the first question,
No,
so
no,
he's going to obfuscate with
no,
stuff
he's
later.
gonna- he's gonna answer the-
Okay.
Look at this.
He
This
won't
is
do it, but yeah, go
crazy.
for it. It's fine.
Look, he's getting nervous.
I know it is.
He's
our
getting
strategy.
nervous because he doesn't know anything about foreign policy, so he
So-
doesn't want to talk
so this
about
will
it.
do.
Because the
This
four
will do.
Jews
Nick-
made the plan in '96. They got us to invade Iraq like 10
Please,
years later.
guys,
Listen to my guys.
Nick, so please cover your examples of how the United States does this do things, and then please cover his first Gulf War, because that's what he's interested in.
100%.
All right.
So I'm making a bigger point about United States foreign policy, which is that we conduct regime change operations. We go to war all the time. There's always a pretext, whether it's against Kurds or it's what happened in Kuwait. The same is true of Iraq with WMDs. The same is true of Libya. We deposed Gaddafi in Libya. They said because, it's not like democratic enough. Does anybody really believe?
That's not even true.
Hey, whoa. Does anybody really believe that we go to war with a NATO coalition and we depose Gaddafi because the elections weren't free and fair? And the same thing is true of Syria. Constantly
Why did
trying to
China
create.
abstain?
Whoa, why are you interrupting
It's
me
like-
all the
it's
time?
just
Is it because you're
fuck
not
me, dude.
confident in your positions? You
No,
have
it's
to derail?
because every time you answer a question, you make up
How about
50
this? How
bullshit
about
questions.
this?
You bring up the deposition of Gaddafi.
He's only
Everyone
mentioning-
is acting like an stop.
Just let him finish his examples, and then please address the first Gulf War for him.
Yes,
so
exactly.
you're giving your examples of America getting involved in foreign policy.
Remember, every answer relies on 30 random talking points. So
It's
go
not
ahead.
random talking
It
points.
is.
It's about because it's about your worldview. Your worldview is predicated, and I've seen your stream. I watch your stream. You always hand wave away all these
Still not the
Jews
first Gulf
in the
War.
Defense Department. You hand wave away all the Jewish disproportionate stuff by saying that things are as they seem. There are people in the world, they act a certain way, but it can't be explained by a conspiracy. That's what I'm taught. That's why it matters to go through these examples, because you're going out there and saying, well, Israel benefits us because geostrategic. Well, what does that mean? Oh, I have no fucking idea. Well, we went to war in Kuwait because of the Kurds. Can you tell me why we went to war?
Hold on, Nick. Give your examples, then the first Gulf War, and then you can ask him a question after.
I already gave my examples.
Okay. And then what about the first Gulf War then?
Libya,
For his-
Ukraine, all these different interventions. They're always a
None of these
pretext.
things are remotely similar to each other.
If I laugh, it looks like I'm not losing. If I laugh, it looks like I don't have a
well, let me
completely
name off
naive
15
worldview.
random facts, and I'm not going to fact check on every single thing you're talking about.
Real.
The Libyan invasion was clearly
Guys, please.
Yeah, it's about Kurds.
Let's keep this civil.
Yeah.
Okay, because he asked a question about the first Gulf War. Why did we go? Is that your question? Why did we go into war with the first
Yeah,
Gulf
I'm
War?
just curious how Jews are concocting every single fucking thing. And then also keep in mind
Not
too,
everything.
the only evidence of any of the fact that like the Jews are behind this is because some people that are Jewish are involved in writing some of the plans.
Well, explain Kanye. Explain
that will
JP
only-
Morgan and
that
Kanye.
will-
Let's go to the good stuff.
That is
Okay.
always
Fuck
going
the
to
Gulf
be.
War. Let's go to Kanye.
Well, hold on.
In the totality of this conversation, the strongest evidence that Nick will ever offer for his position is some of the people involved are Jewish.
Okay, so
Nope,
let's hit
wrong.
the first Gulf War, because he's asking why did we get involved in the
yeah.
first Gulf War?
We got involved in the first Gulf War for the same reason we got involved in the Iraq War. It's because the Jews had a problem with Saddam Hussein. The Zionists had a problem with Saddam Hussein. It's the same situation. And here's why I bring up the letter to Bill Clinton 98. It's because once again, we can take the explanation that we were given by the news media that Israel our closest ally because they help us. Went to war in Iraq because WMDs, I don't know, we were fooled. We went to war in the Gulf War because of the Kurds. What I'm trying to say is that was already the policy. They were agitating for war for a long time. The neocons were agitating for war for a long time.
Can you tell me how did we make Saddam Hussein invade Kuwait and then use weapons against the Kurdish people?
We didn't make them do that. That's the pretext.
How are
That's
we
the
agitating
excuse.
for it?
That's the excuse.
Yeah, can you tell me how
that
we're
they used.
agitating for it?
No. I'm not saying
Oh,
they
I know you
agitate
are.
for that.
Okay.
What
What are we
I'm sorry, what are you
agitating
saying?
for?
I'm sorry. What are you saying?
I'm trying to figure out how the Jews made us go. I'm trying to figure out how did the Jews make
You
Saddam
are
Hussein.
trying to figure it out.
I am. I'm
are.
asking
You are
you. Teach me.
desperately trying to figure it out.
How did the Jews make Saddam Hussein invade Kuwait and use
You're
chemical
not following,
weapons?
though. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's what
saying-
I'm asking
you're
you.
not
Tell me
following.
simply.
Yeah, no. but
Without
you're playing
talking about
dumb. You're playing
Benghazi,
dumb.
without
You're playing
talking
dumb
about
because you're
China,
disingenuous.
without talking about Ukraine.
Without talking about other examples of American foreign policy
It's
to establish
always
a concrete
obfuscation and
worldview.
dialogue trees.
And
That's
it's
the
always
only thing that it
derailing.
is.
It's always derailing and
Fuck me,
sophistry
dude.
from you
All right,
because you have
guys,
no
guys,
idea what you're
guys,
talking
guys,
about.
guys,
You
guys,
have no
guys,
idea what you're
guys,
talking about.
Ask your question, and then he'll answer it.
How did the Jews make us invade in the first Gulf War?
But see, that's a totally incorrect. It's so funny.
You're so
It's so
triggered.
funny.
I see the trigger in you.
I'm not triggered, but that's
You're
just what
very
you
triggered.
do. When you
It
lose
is.
a
It's very
debate,
funny to me
when
that
you lose a debate,
this is like
you
your
do this.
specialty,
Hang
area
on,
of
hang on, you
interest.
do
I
this
don't know fucking
contemptuous.
half the shit you're talking about. and
It's
you
just
don't
like
have
the
an answer
weasel
for
words.
me.
It's just like the
Because
weasel
you
words
rely
at
on
the
somebody
beginning.
having no understanding of any history
It's
you're
just
talking
like the
about,
weasel
and you're
words
just
at
saying
the
random
beginning.
fucking shit to win the argument.
It's so weird.
ahead.
It's so crazy.
Okay. The question
Here's-
is, how did say it one more time? What was it?
He brings up
No,
like
no, it's a
5 different
false premise.
conflicts.
It's a
Destiny,
false
please
premise.
ask the que-
It's a
to-
false
to-
I'll
premise.
ask
Here was the
one.
question he asked. He
so
said,
that we don't derail,
he
guys.
said, how did the Jews make
make a-
Saddam Hussein do these things?
Yes.
I
There you
never
go.
said the Jews made Saddam Hussein do those things. Were you listening?
Oh, so Saddam Hussein chose to invade Kuwait and gas the Kurdish people.
I don't know that he gassed the Kurdish people, by the way.
Oh,
I don't know
we
if I
just don't
believe
Wasn't
think
it
that.
that
6
happened?
million?
Let's say they did, though. As I said before, that's the pretext, Destiny. Countries do bad things all the time.
Were there other countries
Let
that were
me
using
ask you
chemical
this.
weapons on
Were
their
there-
own citizens in the Middle East that we had no interest in? Wasn't that one of the reasons why we went after Gaddafi? Was claims of torturing people, locking them up in prisons?
No, we said.
Why is it that
the
we went
reason
to
why
invade? Why
it
is
was
it that we went
following
to
invade?
invade? Why
Tell
is it that
me,
we
tell
went to
me.
when we went to depose Gaddafi? Why is it that even China abstained from voting against U.S. involvement in that? Because they knew that Gaddafi was a fucked up person, and they knew that that country was being ran in
please,
fucked up ways.
China's not ran by fucked up people, and there's no other fucked up
I'm just
countries in
saying,
the world.
China
Let
had
me
the
ask you
ability
this,
to enter,
Destiny.
and everybody
Let
say,
me
don't
ask you
do it.
this.
There's
Let me
a
ask you
reason
this.
why they abstained.
Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
So we went into Libya, we went into Iraq because it's fucked up guys doing fucked up stuff.
We changed from the first Gulf
Are
War.
there
Note
any
that.
leaders? Are there any leaders doing fucked up stuff in Africa and Latin America?
I think that generally the United States
Yes or
has...
no? Yes or no?
Yeah, they're probably... Yeah, of course. I'm pretty
Okay,
sure
so
there's like 6
why?
ongoing
So
genocides.
where are the ground wars in Africa and Latin
No
America?
geostrategic interest, and I don't know if there
Okay,
are. I don't know if
then
there's
back to the original
democracies
point.
there. I don't know if there are democracies
Back to
that
the
we
original
feel like are
point.
worth
What was
supporting.
the geostrategic interest in toppling Saddam Hussein in 2003?
That entire area, because of its location near Russia, I believe, is of interest to the United
Because
States.
of it, so we invaded Iraq because of its location
I
near
didn't say
Russia.
we invaded. I didn't say we invaded Iraq.
See, this is why.
Oh, I'm not gonna. You want me to answer the question?
This
This
is
is
why
why
he
you
has
just
to
want me to
answer.
Let him
answer.
answer, Nick, please.
Oh,
Okay,
now there's no interruptions.
No, no,
Okay,
let
go
him
ahead.
answer,
Yeah,
and
let's
then-
hear
and
it
then
about
Destiny.
Russia.
Answer,
The reason
and
why
then
we
you can
Go
invaded-
rebut it.
Sonic the Hedgehog, let's
The
go.
reason why
Let him-
we invaded
let him
Iraq,
rebut, and then you can answer.
the reason why we invaded Iraq is because Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait with shitty pretext and used chemical warfare against the people of Kurdistan, the Kurds living in the north of Iraq. The reason why we have an interest in Iraq is because of the location on the globe. So if you want to tell me why we're interested in Iraq, I can tell you that. If you want to tell me why we invaded, I can tell you that. Those are the 2 separate answers to that. Where were the Jews involved?
Well, wait.
Now
So
let him respond.
I want to follow on this a little bit. So you said, well, we invaded Iraq and Libya because even China realized that Gaddafi was a shitty guy. This is like Reddit talk. Gaddafi was a total
Where did the first Gulf
fucking
War go?
asshole.
Note that he moved
Gaddafi
again.
was a total freaking asshole. That's why we invaded. And I
A lot of
said,
people have
okay,
tortured
hang
them.
on,
Yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
interruptions. Can we get a check on that?
Oh, but
Hit the Gaddafi thing, and then please answer his question about the Iraq.
So I said, well, what about all the shitty people in Africa? What about all the shitty people in Latin America, terrorist groups? And he said, well, so really it's not about their shitty people. It's because they're shitty people, and it was geostrategically important. I said, what's a geostrategic benefit? It's near Russia. Really? So let me get this straight. If we invaded Iraq and the geostrategic benefit is that it was near Russia, which look at a fucking map, why wouldn't we just go into Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia? Why wouldn't we go into Ukraine? Why wouldn't we accelerate Ukraine's membership in NATO? This is in 2003. Why would we make Ukraine a NATO member in 2003 when Putin had been in office for 3 years? Why invade Iraq if that was the
First of all-
geostrategic benefit?
Sure.
Let's hear it.
First of all, we've already drafted nations that are literally bordering Russia into NATO. That's what we did with the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
yeah.
So we've already done that. In terms of reaching into countries that are more northern and eastern, or from Iraq, my guess is going to be because we don't have any connection or reasonable way to support those countries. We just don't have
What does that mean? We have no reasonable way to
As
support
in the
what
geographic
country?
locations of places like Turkey and Israel make them easier for long distance support rather than
Really?
places like Armenia, Azerbaijan.
So where's
Georgia,
Azerbaijan on a map? Do you know?
northeast of Iraq?
It's east of Turkey.
Yes.
So it's right there. It's right there with Armenia. It's right there with Turkey. It's right there with Georgia. Georgia and Turkey are allies. Why wouldn't we just go for Azerbaijan?
Georgia already had Russian troops in the country.
And we couldn't have gone in there and repelled that in
And fought
2008?
Russian troops on the Russian border? No, I don't think we would
2008?
do that.
That's what we're doing right now, dipshit. That's what we're doing right now. And it's 20 years later.
I'm sorry.
Russia's
We
having
don't
arms
have,
buildup.
the United
You
States does not
dumbass.
have military troops in Ukraine.
Yes, they
Dumbass.
do. Wow.
No, they don't.
So naive.
No, they don't.
Yes, we do. They're
Then
called
why isn't Russia
contractors.
screaming it
They're
from the
called
rooftops? If we had
They
US
are.
troops-
They
Notice how
are.
we pivoted
Okay.
away from the first Gulf War.
Okay.
That
Again,
is
just to
incredible.
remember.
Because we're going
Amazing
into,
naivete on display right
okay,
here.
You know, it's always funny seeing Nick arguing with Destiny because it's like seeing him arguing with a child or a woman. So it's always fun. But guys, let me know in the comments what you think. If you agree or disagree with Nick, maybe you agree with Destiny. Leave a like if you want to. Christ is King. God bless you.